Smarterfan. Smarterfan. Yeah. Smarterfan.
We are back, Smarterfan podcast with your hosts Joe and Barry, here to give you some more insight. Man, Joe, so much is going on. Oh my goodness, I got so much to talk about tonight. I hope I can keep it all in the pocket, Joe. You're gonna have to pull me off the ledge. You're gonna have to pull me off the ledge. But
Yeah.
don't let me not get ahead of myself, Joe. You kick it off, buddy. But hey, fans, we're glad you're here back at Smarterfan podcast. Learning, seeing, growing, experiencing so much going on in the NBA, NFL, MLB, lots going on in sports, racing, Formula One in Miami, NASCAR coming up at the end of the month. We talk about it all here at Smarter Fan Podcast. We handle it all. We do it all here. You're going to get perspectives you're going to get nowhere else because we are Sports 365. It's all yours, Joe. You get to kick it off today.
Yeah,
I wanted to
touch. I wanted to touch on NASCAR, being that we're gonna be going to the race at the end of the month, hopefully.
Absolutely,
And
I'm so excited.
Oh, it's quite the experience. It's like watching it on TV is one thing, but when you're actually there, the adrenaline it just starts pumping,
I can imagine.
I mean, even when they do the national anthem and those F-15s fly overhead and they fly really low, so it's like thunder. Oh yeah,
wow,
yeah,
wow.
And then when they say, "Gentlemen, start your engines," and oh my God, it's just it's a total experience. You just have to be there.
Wow.
And I've been going to this race since '99.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah. Me and Brian, he's the guy I go with. Yeah, we've been going to it since '99, and we've seen a lot of action over the years. And I've met Richard Petty, and
the King.
Yes, I've met the King.
Wow.
And he is just total class all the way.
Wow.
I've met Terry Labonte.
Wow.
And
nice.
Yeah.
You got hey, listen. I got to ask the question. How many since you've been going through '99? Have you seen more people that look like you and me at the race?
In the last few years, yes.
Okay.
But
that's good.
In fact, last year, there was a couple of guys that sat with us that looked like us.
Okay.
And,
okay.
So it was a nice experience, and it was good to see that.
Yeah, I mean, NASCAR has been really making an effort. Michael Jordan's got a team, and others have teams out there in NASCAR, and we actually have a long history of racing, African Americans racing. We're not new to it, and even Formula One, we're not new to it. We're just the exposure hasn't been there, and so NASCAR has been making some real because Joe, you always make me do my homework. NASCAR has been really doing a big effort in drawing minorities, quote unquote, I hate that word, to the sport of NASCAR because of the history that a lot of people don't know is not all red, white, and blue. There's a lot of black and brown in there when it comes to racing. So that's good to see.
Well, that's why I'm that's why I'm partial to Bubba Wallace. I want to see him succeed.
Absolutely.
He's
like one of very few black drivers out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace, in case people don't know. Bubba Wallace. Yeah, I think he was driving for Michael Jordan's team, or is he still driving for Michael Jordan's team?
I'm not sure at this point. I'm not really sure. but
I'm a
I know
fan of
he's
his. Mhm.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a fan of his, and I'm a fan of Brad Doherty. Do you know that name?
the name is very
Brad
familiar.
Doherty.
Yes.
I'll give you another
Yeah.
hint. North Carolina, Tar Heel.
Oh, okay.
I-
Yeah.
I'll give you another
Yeah.
clue. Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes. Yes.
I'll give
Yes.
you another hint. Probably about 6'11".
Well, he didn't he play with Price and
Yes, now,
uh
yes. So
he
that
played
Brad
with
Derrick. Now, what's interesting story about Brad is that he's on the ownership side, and he
okay.
actually, there's been a couple articles of the backlash he got. He's got to be almost 10 years that he's
Hmm.
been kicking in that door on the ownership side, and because he's from North Carolina, Charlotte, I
Okay.
believe, and so he
Okay.
grew up around racing, so he's got racing
Right.
in his blood. And he talked about getting into it, and a lot of the pushback he got, but he persevered and continues to persevere in breaking down those walls.
Yeah.
Brad
Yeah.
Doherty. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the name. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's like I said, it's very exciting to be there. You know,
I can imagine. I can imagine.
and
Roar of the engines, the people, the hot dogs, the beer, the gasoline.
oh yeah, yeah.
I'm
And
sure it makes a unique experience, to say the least.
well, for one thing, it is very loud.
I could
It
only
is.
imagine.
It's very
I'm gonna have
loud.
to get some earplugs. I could only imagine.
Yeah, you can, or what you can do is you could rent headphones, and you could hear the
Okay.
chatter between the drivers and their pits.
Oh, how cool is that? Really?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that
Oh
would be
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That
You
would
can
be
hear the
cool. So
drivers
you
talking to their
talking?
pits and everything. Yeah, there's a
Oh
couple of
man.
channels I believe, and you can hear a couple of different drivers. You
Oh
know,
wow.
and one year Brian at his job he won this contest, and we got tickets to the race, but
Mm-hmm.
we along with the tickets he got, we had pit passes.
Mm-hmm.
We could walk around the garages and see them working on the cars.
No way.
And then we got
Wow.
yeah, it was a great experience. And then we got to watch the race from Rick Hendrick's skybox.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was great.
Wow.
That
You
was
got like
great.
the
Yeah.
royal treatment, bro. You got
We
like the
did. It
royal
was like
treatment.
all you could eat and drink,
Mm.
and his
Wow.
box is like right out of turn 4, so you're right across from pit row, and
Oh wow.
it's yeah. So I
Oh,
mean,
that's
that's
sweet
basically where
news.
my seats are.
Oh, really? Around
Yeah,
turn four.
my seats are out of turn 4. They're under the skybox,
Oh, okay. Okay.
so we're not in
Okay.
the sun because you will bake in that sun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. North Carolina, the South in the summer is a different experience. I try to tell people. I had that experience once before in Atlanta, and I swore to
Hmm.
myself, I will never come south in the
Right.
summer. I
The
told my brother,
good
I'll see you when it cools down.
well, the
That's
good
the only thing.
thing is we're we're going down in the end of May before it really gets hot.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
good.
so it's before it gets hot down there.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's the good thing, you know.
That's a very good thing. That's a
Yeah.
very good thing. What else you got? Because I'm chomping at the bit, bud. I got some stuff to talk about. I got some
Yeah.
stuff to
Well,
talk about.
I wanted to talk about the state of the NBA and the fact that I'm a little challenged with uh, the way the league, the way they're playing now, and the fact that
Don't hold back, Steve. Don't hold back.
the fact that you know I'm challenged now because I don't pay as much attention to the league as I used to
Hmm.
because uh, it's a marshmallow league to me. You
When you say
know,
marshmallow, would you mind defining that, Steve?
the players are soft. The league
It-
is soft.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you
It's,
got, when I I I watched the Jordan Ewing era, and those
mm-hmm,
guys balled out every night.
mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm.
balled out. They weren't flopping. They weren't
Yeah, yeah.
crying to the refs about looking for the call every time
Mm-hmm,
they, you know, get a hangnail,
mm-hmm.
you know, and these guys are Harden. He's a perfect example. This guy, he's looking at the call, looking for the call more than following through with the play. You know,
Well, Steve, I hate to disappoint you. The reality is that sports in general follows trends, right? And so
yeah,
the trend has moved from the 80s, 90s to what the consumer um wants. And so the consumer has kind of got excited about I call it the Steph Curry phenomenon, right?
yeah, yeah. Everybody's shooting
And
from 3-point land.
which to me is this is a big peeve I have in sports in general. A lot what I call lazy coaching. And a
Mm,
friend of mine said, "Man, that's pretty harsh." And I said, "Well, Roger Goodell chastised the owners of these teams in the NFL because they've spent $800 million on coaches who are not even in the league anymore. How are
mm,
you like that?" Right?
yeah,
So there's a lot of good coaches, there's a lot of bad coaches, and there's a lot of lazy coaching, right? And
yeah.
so, that impacts the game. And to me, you kind of say to yourself, well, not every this lazy coaching. I liken it to the phenomenon of the Detroit Lions. How can you have a running back like Barry Sanders and not make more playoffs and at least win one Super Bowl? No, and they just repeated it when they had Megatron. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's just some franchises. I keep trying to tell people half the league ain't really serious about really making a run. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not.
Yeah.
Another friend got mad at me because I said to him, Joe Burrows will probably not be with the Bengals in 3 years. He'll be somewhere else
Hmm.
because that franchise
Possibly.
is just not committed to winning.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
has to be a real serious, not just in word but in deed. Right? You got to do certain things to win. You know what I mean? There's got to be a mentality to win.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you're not. And I don't think Joe Burrows, the way he's made, he's gonna, he would find it satisfying to remain a Bengal and not go to the show. Especially, isn't he and Mahomes in the same conference? I believe.
Cincinnati. Cincinnati is that the AFC South,
Um, but they
or
see
I
each
don't
other.
know.
They see each other
Yeah.
quite often, and so that's one of my pet peeves. The other thing I want to jump to is the portal. Coach
Yes.
Dion Sanders,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to reach out to a friend of mine to get some clarity because I said, well, what happens to a kid who jumps into the portal and he doesn't get picked up? Where does he go? I don't know. Do
Right.
you know? Does he go back
Well,
to his team? Where does he go?
well, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Isaiah Land. He's a defensive end that the Cowboys just signed. He's an undrafted free agent. He went to Florida A&M. Okay. Uh, he's a decent player, good speed off the edge, and he jumped into the portal because he wanted to go to a Power 5 program.
Yeah, you were
And
saying that. Okay.
and uh, for whatever reason, he decided to stay with Florida because he said that they were very loyal to him, and he decided to stay with them.
Okay.
So I'm guessing there are instances where if you jump in the portal, you can go back.
Go back. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so I mean, it seems to have happened
Interesting.
with this particular individual. So
Yeah, I reason why I bring it up is because I think there's a lot of misinformation that a lot of these young men are making decisions that are not well thought out. and I talked to a friend of mine. And I said, let's look at the evidence, not the emotion to somebody. Coach Sanders has had a number of players while he was at Jackson State end up in the NFL, XFL, and different other leagues, right?
Right.
There's not many coaches who have the pedigree of Coach Prime, right? There's
No.
a lot of guys who can play who never get drafted in low rounds. The whole objective is to be able to get an honest look, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think if who has many of his contemporaries who are in the league are now GMs,
Mm.
coaches, and who have influence, who can say, "Hey, coach, I got this kid. He can ball. Let me tell you, he can
Mm.
fill the gaps." You don't think he's not getting those kind of calls as people look for personnel and
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
players to fit their system? That's how the game is played, and a lot of these young people don't understand that it's about getting an honest look, an honest opportunity, right? um
Yeah. But
I mean, I
interesting
played against.
enough,
Hmm.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, interesting enough, the Cowboys seem to do better with undrafted free agents.
Well, that's probably because when you go undrafted as a free agent, the hunger is a little different. And that's another
Yeah.
thing that I think a lot of these young men don't understand. And I had to talk to a couple guys who, you know, help them understand the business of sport. I said, what make what is unique about Dion Sanders playing football? And they said, well, he could dance and he was entertaining and he could return kicks. And I said, no, you missed it. Most people on the field were getting paid for getting a check for one thing. He was on the he was on the same field, same uniform, getting three checks for doing three different things.
Mm.
They were like, I never thought about it like that. I said, yeah,
Yeah.
receiver,
Yeah.
corner, and not average, right?
No, not
And
at all.
return. So this is why I always say you need to understand the game, but you need to understand the business of the game, right? And how to leverage to get the most out of the game.
Hmm.
And so, I said you got to be able to think like that, guys. You got to think about every time you step on the floor, practice and game. This is an audition. It's an audition for your existing team of your value, and an audition to your opponent. Because if they say, man, this guy, every time we play these guys, this dude gives us work. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? What do you
Yeah.
think that means? If you become available, they're going to try to get you. That's why
Yeah.
the secret sauce to me, if you're playing any kind of professional sports, whatever, get your foot in the door, add value, be coachable, learn, soak up information, have a good attitude, and which has more weight than your draft status. Because if you come in with that kind of attitude, you can get a 10-year career and be a sixth round draft choice, as opposed to somebody who went 1, 2, and 3 and didn't have that attitude, and they're out of the league sitting on their couch after two
Hmm.
seasons. And there's a
Yep.
lot of those. Like,
That's for
man, what
sure.
are you doing back home? Well, it didn't work out, blah, 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 because they didn't understand the business of the game. They
Yeah.
didn't understand the business of the game. But
That's for
what you
sure.
got for me? I just wanted to drop that in there.
Yeah. Well, these undrafted free agents that the Cowboys signed, uh,
Mm-hmm.
they to me they look like they could be good rotational players. You know,
You are a very harsh critic. You know that you're very harsh, very
hey,
harsh,
that's just the way I see it. You know,
very
I mean,
harsh. Mm.
this kid, this kid Isaiah Land, he's a defensive end. It's like I said, he's got good speed off the edge, good
Mm-hmm.
lateral quickness. Um, he in his 3 years in college, he had 42 and a half tackles.
Okay.
Uh, and he like I said, he could be because we got a plethora of defensive ends now.
Uh-huh.
So if he's even gonna make the team, he's gonna have to crack that lineup. So and Quinn likes to rotate his
Uh-huh.
defense. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think he could be a good he could be an asset as a rotational player.
Okay.
The same with Darrell Johnson. He's a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
He's out of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 27 and a half tackles last year.
Mm-hmm.
He wins the battles at the line of scrimmage. He's got speed and lateral quickness, and
Mm-hmm.
he's added bulk so he can handle those tackles.
Uh-huh.
And he's got good hands, and he's got a good move on his pass rush. So
Okay. You've been doing your
I
homework. Okay.
yeah, he can work. I think they can work him in the linebacker core with Van Der Esch, and they still haven't decided what they're going to do with Micah. Whether they're going to have him as a defensive end or keep him as a linebacker.
Yeah, he
You know,
probably end up playing a hybrid nickel.
I think so too. That's what they did with Khalil Mack, and
Yeah, I think Micah's speed and agility, and he's much more dangerous if you move him around. That people have to guess where he's at and kind of
well,
figure
they're
that out.
already doing that. They're already doing that.
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
you,
I mean,
you
that's
see
yeah,
quarterbacks, they're pointing. Get that guy. Get that guy.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
and he's
I think
bulked
that.
up a little bit too.
Yeah, it's a long season. 18 games will take a lot out of you. Take a lot out of you. Absolutely.
So,
Hmm.
and then we also signed this corner, Miles Brooks. He's out
Hmm.
of Louisiana Tech.
Okay.
He's a good ball hawk. You know, he
Okay.
broke up 9 passes, had 3 interceptions last year,
Okay.
and he has good instincts, and most importantly, as a corner, he's a good tackler.
Okay. All right. All right.
So
All right. All right. So you've given me enough cowboy sauce that I can take for the night. And I'm a cowboy fan. You've given me too much sauce on my barbecue ribs. What else you got? Because we're coming down to the wire, and I want to close out on a few things. So what else you got?
well,
This is good stuff.
I yeah, that's basically the things that I had. Like I said, they're good rotational. They could be good
No, no,
rotational players.
no, no, no. I'm not gonna let you go down the roll again and tell me for the third time what else you got.
All
I
right,
want to
yeah.
hear something else you got.
The Yankees. Okay, the Yankees are doing much better. Albeit it was the A's that they beat up on.
Boy,
But
you're so tough tonight, man. I've never seen you this tough. You are tough tonight. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, they're really really disappointing me at this point
Huh?
because these guys, I mean, like I said, they're hurting with the injuries because I don't think Judge is back yet. And Severino, he's not back yet.
Okay.
Um, and the only one who's really doing anything is this kid Volpe. You know,
Okay.
he hit his first grand slam.
Nice. Nice.
Of his career, and
Nice.
he's out there. He's doing his thing, and which is I'm very I'm happy with that because he had to fill some really big shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that to
At
your
shortstop.
point. Yeah.
So
Yes.
you know,
Mhm. To your point. This is a big thing. Mhm.
so but
This is
they
this
got
is my point
uh-huh.
that I think sometimes, and you
Go
you
ahead.
you bring it out. Being a professional athlete is very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. It looks easy, but
Yeah.
you're looking at people who have perfected a craft at the highest level, right? Most people,
Yes.
Steve, couldn't even survive an NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball practice, much less a game.
Mm,
Okay, right.
yeah.
So, it's very easy to sit in the stands and critique, right? But
Yeah.
do you really think, how many people do you think could play 182 games at a high level?
162.
62.
But
Right?
yeah,
Right?
it's
It's not many, right? How many
n-
people do you think could endure an 18-game NFL season, right? What's the NBA? 120 games?
82 games.
82 games,
82
right?
games. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In and out of hotels, in and out of planes, and that kind of thing. It's very grueling. And that's just physical. Not to mention the behind the scenes drama, politics, just like you deal with in your office, it happens in
Mm-hmm.
pro sports too. It just
That I
happens
know.
because you have personality conflicts and all that other stuff. But I
Right.
want to touch a little bit about Jimmy Butler. I don't know. Is Philly going to put them to bed? The Celtics to bed? Or the Celtics going to put Philly? It's interesting. Now, I got a call today because I want to end
Mm-hmm.
on this note, which is
Mm-hmm.
money. And I'm going to start talking about the money of the game. Someone has sent me something and it said the Boston Celtics are going to have to pay $613 million in order to keep Jason Tatum and the other gentleman, number 7. I love how he plays. Um,
Mm.
and I wrote back to him, it's chump change. I hope they get it.
Yeah.
And the guy was like,
Yeah.
how can you say it's chump change? I said, it's simple third grade math. How many people sit on a bench? He said, roughly 15 to 17 players. I said, if you've got enough money to pay $613 for 2 players, then how much money are you making as an owner? He hasn't
Mm.
responded back to me yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I keep
Well,
trying to tell people this is these are pennies. You know how much money the owner is making in perpetuity. Anyway, I
oh
don't want to
yeah.
beat a dead horse, but
But well,
yes,
on that note, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Lakers now that AD went down
listen.
because he
I
got.
like what somebody said. AD is 30 years old and a 50-year-old body. I'm not even.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even care. I don't even care.
I
I
know,
don't even care.
but
I would be surprised if it didn't happen. But at some
well,
point,
it was with
you
him.
know,
It was a matter of not if he got hurt, but when he was going to get hurt.
and you know what? In all fairness, bodies break down when bodies decide to break down, and there ain't much you can do about it if you
Yeah.
don't prepare for it. So,
Well, they're claiming
God
that
bless you.
he's going to be available for Game 6, but
I
I'm
doubt it.
guessing he's got to go through a concussion protocol
Yeah, I
because
doubt it. And
they said they wheeled him into the locker room in a wheelchair. They said.
yeah, even if 50-year-old body. Well, I wouldn't even
Mm.
say 50-year-old body. He's just got a fragile body. Because Kareem, anyway. Um,
Mm.
no, I would rest him because you're gonna need him. You're gonna need him.
Yeah.
And so people got again. It's added value. No one drafted that kid of the Lakers. Got it. That Reeves kid, and see that proves
Mm.
my point. No one drafted him. He got an opportunity. He's making the most of his opportunity. You know how many number 1, 2, and 3 draft choices is sitting at home at a couch right now, watching Reeves
Mm.
playing in the playoffs. And so
Yeah.
this is the one thing about Smarter Fan Podcast is give you a different perspective, a different way of looking things, and understanding the money behind the game, because that
Right.
is so much more interesting when you really begin to understand how the money works, how the decisions work, how things that people bet on. And I'll say this last thing: college and pro. Believe you me, when you make a great draft choice or you find talent, that moves you up the food chain, just like in your office. That makes
Mm-hmm.
you special. Can you imagine the guy who chose, hey, we need to draft Barry Sanders, Megatron, right?
Mm.
That Cobra guy who coached, trained Jordan has been living 30 plus years off of what? I trained Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
That's his
Well,
claim to fame. And he's been
hey.
milking it for 30 years. So again, fans, Smarter Fans podcast coming at you. We always have something good and tasty for you to eat. Joe likes barbecue, and
Mm-hmm.
he's always gonna keep it tough. And so we're looking for you next week. Anything you got to say, Joe, as we close out?
Nah, I set it off. Just looking forward to the race. Looking forward to the
NASCAR,
race.
we're on our way. We're on our
Yeah.
way. Thanks, fans. We'll be back at you next week. Smarterfan
All right.
podcast.
Peace.
Smarterfan. Smarterfan. Yeah. Smarterfan.